morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Davidson. Hey, this is a very good group. Everyone is up and ready, raring to go. A little cool weather, beautiful skies. So I'm Suzanne Davidson. I'm Executive Director of the Chamber Music Society, and I really want to welcome you this morning and to thank Arnaud Sussmann for being here. Lawrence, unfortunately, got the flu and is deathly ill, not deathly ill, but anyway, ill in London, and afraid that they would think he was deathly ill if he tried to fly into Kennedy and he had a temperature. So we decided it was not a good idea to have him come. And because we have all these fantastic musicians at the Chamber Music Society, Arnaud jumped right in. As you probably know, Arnaud won the Avery Fisher Award. He is an alum of CMS2. He has been compared to all kinds of fantastic cellists in his playing, Heifetz being one of them, and of course is himself just a spectacular player. We are thrilled to have him here. He's here today for this class, and then he's going to be on tour for us. He's going to be in Purchase at our new residency that we have up there in Westchester. He's going to be there in a couple of weeks, and then he's going to be performing on stage at Alice Tully Hall with us with the Four Seasons Vivaldi program that we have on December 5th and 7th. So thank you very much for being here, and thrilled to give you the very fabulous Arnaud Sussmann.
We're talking? Oh. Come on. Let's get started. Thank you. Good morning. So we'll get started. I just want to listen to the first one of this Brahms quartet, and we'll get started on some music. My first question is to you. What did you think of this run-through? You must have been working on this for a while, probably played it many times before for different people, so I'm curious how it felt to you. Could be good, by the way. I'm not just looking for negative comments, so anything that comes through your head. See, the reason why I'm asking this is because you, as much as you're playing for somebody out there today, you should always be having the critical thinking yourself also, because you won't always be playing for somebody. So I want to make sure that your ears were also out here. So anything.
It felt hard.
It felt hard.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
A little.
A little bit? You guys were nervous? You certainly shouldn't be nervous playing for me. Maybe for these people, but it's good. Nerves are good, right? I mean, it always makes me play better. Did you feel like things you worked out came out okay? I thought it was a beautiful run-through. Okay, I'll tell you, I wrote a bunch of little things because it's very polished. And how long have you been playing together, by the way?
Just beginning this fall.
Good. Well, that's a great group. You should be happy with yourselves. But so I thought there are a bunch of little things we can work on. First of all, I appreciated at the very opening, and these are general comments, but the first thing that came to mind at the beginning, I had to look at the score, was I appreciated that it was not pianissimo and it was substantial sound, but I feel you can have a lot different sounds in your soft dynamics in particular, and we'll talk about the loud dynamics also, but the beginning seemed, maybe it just wasn't the right character to me, and I know it says piano. Does it say anything else in piano at the beginning? Espressivo. So we should work on different sounds in the soft, I would say. Also, I could use a lot more rubato in this piece. I appreciated very much how you were patient with the whole movement, and it never felt rushed at all. And it's good to have just one general tempo, I would say, but within that, I could use a lot more ebb and flow in Brahms, personally. We could work on different characters, the texture in this piece and in Brahms in general, but there's so many layers, so many things going on at the same time. And for the most part, I could hear the primary voice, but there are a couple spots also that we should thin it out a little bit and make sure that the primary voice comes out. And there are different techniques to do this, including with your own sound, how to make the most interesting sound to grab the audience's ears. Yeah, about the timing and the rubato and the patience that I talked about, it almost felt too rehearsed at times. It should almost be like a stream of consciousness. I mean, it's incredibly structured, this piece and all, but there were times where I felt that you know this too well. You weren't making it up on the spot. You should almost feel like you're writing the piece as you're playing it. So basically we can work on all this going through the piece. So why don't we start from the top, and is there any character or any words that come to mind for this opening? Anybody? I mean, she has a primary voice, right? But what do you think about when you play this opening? Happy and sad at the same time. Oh, I see. Like crying through your smile or something. Oh, I like it. Okay, let's try this. Let's see if we can hear this. Okay, so that's a nice full sound, but to me that's too direct. That's too in your face a little bit. Can you maybe add a little bit more shimmer in the sound, maybe a little bit more air in your sound at the beginning? And I know it's Brahms and we don't want fluffy sound or anything, but to me that's too real at the beginning. So see if you can add a little bit of resonance and shimmer in your sound. Good. And you should, by the way, that's beautiful. You should sustain though in your line, right? So that you don't drop in the middle of all these voices. I'm curious, this is just for an exercise. I'd like to reverse my bowings to practice to hear what it sounds like. Just start at the oboe all together and see what it feels like. We'll go back to the down later, but. Good, beautiful. I kind of like it. I mean, so you can get informed by doing this in your practice, right? You reverse the bowings, you see what it sounds like. And so doing it one more time, and even in the cue, I don't feel like you're all quite doing it at the same time. And I try my best when I cue something at the beginning of it, anywhere, to have the character of the piece in my cue. And so I wouldn't be so direct. You guys are just a little bit matter of fact. We're just all playing together, and it's perfectly together, and that's great, and that's what we want. But maybe, the visual aspect of chambers or playing music is an interesting one, because in the end, really, it's all what happens here. But I need personally to feel involved all around, and it's different for different people. Obviously, maybe the greatest example might be Jascha Heifetz, who looked completely uninvolved, but it sounded completely involved. So of course you don't have to work your hardest. We're not acting or anything here. But even this beginning, I don't know, my body would automatically and take a different kind of breath that you're taking. So see if we can try that. Okay. Do you hear the difference? Amazing how that changed, right? Can we do it one more time? Awesome. Okay, now go back to the down bow. I'm curious to see your bowing. And the last thing is, within your sound, can you have the same feeling that you did in that cue? I think that I always try to have a sound that's not just one focus. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in the sound, I try to have a lot of different inflections. So of course there should be a general sustain so the line doesn't break or anything. But if it's just one core in the sound, just one sound, it just doesn't satisfy me. So I want to make sure that there's enough distinction and differences in your inflection. Make sense? Particularly in your voice, but even in your voice, it's not just da 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 da, right? Good, beautiful. Okay, so we'll focus a little bit more on this and then keep going. By the way, here in the recap, she does it on the A string, and I think it'd be nice, so I know it's a fifth that you have to put down here. Da, da, pa. Can you just do it? Yes, you can do it perfectly fine. That'll match much better her sound later on, because you're playing it on the A string right after, right? So it was just too much of a contrast for me, E string, A string. So. Good. Now, the hairpin at 8. A lot, not too much. What do you think?
Should be in the context of the piano.
In the context, right? Because later on, 4 bars later, you have a hairpin going to forte. So subtle is always a nice keyword to have in your mind when you do some of these little dynamics. And by the way, sometimes in Brahms, I treat this both as a dynamic, but also as a bit of a direction. And even the crescendo you do later, I don't want to change it too much, because I like the patience that you have and you're not rushing towards it. But I'm curious, maybe if you think of this hairpin as a direction marking, just as much as a volume marking. Make any sense? Yeah. Okay, can we try one more time? Personally, the up bow is a lot more magical than the down bow, so you might want to reconsider this entrance and try it up for now. I'm sorry, that was just a timing cue. That was not a character cue. So take your time and feel this opening. It's too beautiful to play boring. Primary voice, primary voice. Primary voice. A little more direction. Nice. One long line, keep going. Keep the rhythm. Yeah, good. So I think this little writ in the music, he writes it out with the rest. So I think it's super strong if you just totally stay in time, okay? And then even when you go to pianissimo, your sound has to be interesting, right? So it can't just become completely flautando off of the string and with no core. So just make sure that you still have a little core. Good. Let's go from the forte. I personally like the direction a little bit. It gives that ebb and flow in the music. And it's all related. It's the ebb and flow in the timing, ebb and flow in the sound, and this is how you tie all of this together to get, I think, the right character for this opening. So can we just go from the forte? Rhythm. Yeah, good. So I noticed that more the second time, but now I'm noticing it a lot. You're dropping the sound a lot on that second note, ta, pa, 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 and it's very separate. Is that on purpose or just sort of happened this way? Because the line gets broken a little bit. Ta, pa, 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 da, dum, pa, da, particularly when you start passing it faster. Ta, pa. But the second note always drops a bit. So see if you can continue. And then the eighth notes, the character is not exactly the same. Do you have the slur over those little notes?
Yes.
Try once all on an oboe. Da, pa, 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 da, da, under a slur, right?
Okay.
Let's see what happens. Right on. Good. Primary voice. Sustain. Yeah, okay. Just do it once, the two of you. Where are we? Just do A once, the two of you. And particularly later on when you pass it, where the crescendo starts, we really need to hear that, don't drop that second note. So just once, the two of you. That's good. Too short. Good. Okay, right? Because your last note is always passing to her note. So if you cut it too short, we don't hear that transition. And this is primary line the whole time. This is the only thing we want to hear, or that we want to hear very clearly. Okay, so everything you do, your eighth notes seem to come out. They get a little too much attention. Okay, so you're always second voice to what they're doing. I know what it is. You're doing different bowings, and so you connect more and you don't connect as well. I think you're starting da, pa. Which way are you starting? Da, pa. And you're doing the reverse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you try once the same bowing, see if that works, sounds better? Yes. Okay, one last time. I'm sorry. It still bothers me, this thing. So. Down. There you go. Good. So this is a perfect example where I'm amazed by your patience, but I would love to have a little less of it because this feels nice and broad, and it's one way to play it, but I'd be curious to hear just a tiny bit more flow there. Just let it go. The music is, you know, going forward a little bit, and so it ends up sounding a little bit stuck to me. So can we try once maybe from that low C in the cello that's measured 30? Yeah, and kind of let it go, and the eighth notes can help us move forward here also. Long line, long line. Okay, but that's too loud, right? We're getting to piano. That's good. Now, in the inner voices at where we just started, the first violin has hairpins always to the second bars. Da, 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 da. You can do a little bit of this and more directionally, okay? And by the way, this is something, you know, in terms of dynamic and how the primary voice should always come about. It takes a lot of experience to know all this, but so the first couple of statements, which means measure 30, 31, and 32, 33. She starts on the E string, and it's rather present, and then she has a long line, and she's getting lower and lower in register, and the cello is playing. So here you need to imperceptibly just let her through a little bit more, right? Okay, so these are little things that let us hear that primary line at all times as clearly as possible. So same place one more time. Middle. Sing, 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 sing. Move your bow, move your bow. All right. Tempo. Yeah. If you wait so long, it's going to not sound like an offbeat here, right? So I would say all this is so incredibly well written by Brahms. He writes out the slowing down of the music. So and he writes ritardandos when he wants to. So don't do them where it's not written, okay? Good, that's better. I like the flow, and you guys are helping with this. So one last time, and move your bow and sing through that long line after that. That's much better. Good, last time. Sing, sing, sing. You're playing for them. Good. Sing and take your time. It's improv. Okay, so in a spot like this, it's both taking and giving the time. So I'm sorry if I just said take your time, but here it's a little mini cadenza for the first violin, right? So it cannot be totally in time. I don't think maybe just follow the contour of the line a little bit more and sing through this, and that'll be beautiful. So do you want to just do right around there? Okay, beautiful, but can you vibrate? Thank you. Okay, everybody looks at me. Don't look at your parts. What dynamic is written here? You looked at your part. Okay, it says molto piano e sempre mezza voce, grazioso e animato. Okay, so the animato part I heard, the grazioso we could do a little better, but the molto piano and sempre mezza voce I didn't hear at all, right? And this is clearly marked softer than it should be at the beginning, right? Do you have all this marking in your part, or okay? So let's see. This should be much softer than the opening, and with tons of character, of course. And again, maybe I think that we can try different sounds. Why don't you try once and we just move your bow a lot and lots of shimmer. I hear probably I would do, adds maybe a little more intense vibrato, but keep your bow moving. Let's see what that sounds like. Maybe we can try later with a more a bit of a tighter sound. I don't think that'll work, but so let's try to move the bows here. Do we write on it for now? Yeah. Okay, can you feel both in the violins that both your hands are soft and sweet and gracioso, even just both hands, not just the right hand, but everything is beautiful and gorgeous but soft. Can you just play once, the two of you? Have to have this feeling in both hands. Right now this is just so comfortable, and that's making it sound too comfortable, I think. So. Good, but can you now make this a little less real sounding? That's beautiful, that's the right character, I think, but it should be just a little bit more up here as opposed to down on the ground, right? Good. For me, it's still just a little bit too loud. It's marked so soft, and we hear you very well here. So see if you can play a little tiny bit less. Now everybody plays. I'm gonna move back and see what it sounds like. Yeah, this is why, because this is the piano dolce part. This is the part that should sing and be warm, and not the part before. You know what I mean? So right now I didn't quite hear it. And the other thing is, I know it's a little treacherous, but again, you have a hairpin in the middle of this phrase. He doesn't really say how far up you're supposed to go. So what do you think? Do you think that this goes above the dolce that comes later? Or is the dolce a completely different character? How do you plan this?
Maybe different.
Definitely, I think the dolce is definitely different, and for me should be a much warmer, maybe a little bit louder, although he doesn't write it. So the hairpin should, again, as you said earlier, be within the character of this section, right? And the hairpin, by the way, the top of the hairpin is 2 bars. Even maybe 2.5 bars, because where the hairpin starts, it should still be kind of warm, right? So, da, 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 all this is the top of the hairpin, not just da, 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 and then we lost everything. And then, by the way, with your fingerings, da, 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 wa, da, something, maybe a little slide, a little shift is something to warm it up there, okay? So, one more time, let's try this. The pitches are very clear, but can you try and match their character a little bit more? I don't know how you do this with pitches, but see if you think about it. That's too real. Move your bows. Can you move your bows? It's just a little stuck on the string. If I sing it, a little more air in the sound. Not too much, not too much. These are little hairpins, right? Dolce. Primary voice, primary voice. Yeah, you're primary here, and for the most part I heard you, but as we get lower in instruments and register, we have to work twice harder for the audience to grab it. It's just too easy for an audience member to grab onto the upper register instrument. And so you guys have to be very conscious of this, and maybe the sound is a tiny bit more. You're on the G string here. Is that what you did? Yeah, okay, so maybe the sound is a tiny bit more muffled, so you have to respond to all of this in order for this to be really primary. And you shouldn't play much louder than this, so it's a matter of making sure the textures are right. So right there. Sustain. Okay, couple things. Sustain. Da 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 da. it's one long line, right? And also make sure in your bow changes that you don't change your speed, because da 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 da. I hear a little bit of this, so just one longer line. One more time. Thank you. 5% less. Dolce. Sing, 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 sing. Okay, good, beautiful. I'm sorry we spent so much time on this opening, but you can apply everything I said to the rest. There's just two things I want to say. At G, we need a lot more bite in your sound here, because that just got completely lost. And there's so many details. We can talk about this later. We have to move on now. But the one last thing I want to try is those pizzas, because it shouldn't be so hard, and it should be together. So where is that? At the end? Somewhere at the end?
Q.
Oh yeah, Q. So let's get into it. Maybe, how about from like 8 bars before, from that double bar? I think it's 8 bars. It's probably 8 bars, right? Ba-ba. Yeah.
P.
Oh sure, in tempo, that's fine, yeah. That's going to be the second bar of P, right?
Yeah.
Half
Yeah.
bar? Yeah. You'd play with them. Ba-da, second bar of P. Okay, that's better. I wouldn't lose time at all, the bar before Q. Da, 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 bum, bum, bum. If you want to slow down, maybe into the last pitch. But the difficulty is if you take a little time, that last arco bar, then we don't really know where to play the speed. So can you play just da, 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 3 before Q? Or 4 before Q? Da, 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 dum. Good, and you should feel that rest together. Da 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 da. Bum. Be confident about this. I think people usually with pitches you lose all confidence because it's mostly never together. But if you just feel that rest really clearly together and take a nice breath, totally in time, and don't second doubt. Question yourself. So one more time. 4 before Q. Good, and you could, in terms of sound now, it could be a tiny bit fuller. So maybe if you pluck a tiny bit slower, just make sure you grab that string. That'll be perfect. One last time, we got to stop after that, yeah? Yeah, second pitch was better. Just work on this, because right now there's no, again, with pitches we lose the concept of a nice sound, right? So just make sure you pluck loud enough, yeah? It's not going to be too loud, okay? Bravo. Thanks for playing for me. Take a bow. Good work. What did you think? Had character, yeah. Okay, good. Positive comment. Yes, definitely had character. You've been working on this for a while? Beginning of semester? Yeah. Okay, so I'm sure you've played for many people and they've had many different opinions. So today is my opinions, I'm telling you. It's funny because if the first group that played for me, I was very impressed with their patience, and I thought you guys could use more patience in this first movement in particular, because he says moderato, and there's something kind of magnetic and I don't know, I kind of get in a trance a little bit with this movement, and I felt anxious listening to you, and it wasn't really together at times, and maybe those of you who had the moving notes could just make sure that everything falls into place, because the first time through, unless you want to convey an anxious character, but I don't think that's the character in this first movement. Do you have a thought or a word or an idea of this opening? I'm talking about the first movement.
Well, it should start like it's been going on for a while.
Mm-hmm. Like you're opening the door or something. Right, and there's something about all these beats, right? And moderato, and so can we just start from the top again? And I have a couple other comments. So playing with winds is always interesting. I'm talking as a string player, because we have to make sure that, and you guys too, by the way, but we have to control our vibrato. That doesn't mean play with no vibrato, but they obviously play with less than we do, and so we need to find a way to make it work together. And there are a lot of places where, to me, it stuck out on a long chord or something, that the strings were doing one thing and then the winds were doing another thing. And I would say, I mean, we're going to go through this super carefully, but it's really unbelievable the amount of information in this score. And you should know at all times what everybody has, but in any case, you should do at all times 200% of what he writes for you, because there are dashes, mezzo forte, accents, slurs, dots, some notes are this, some notes are that. When he comes back, it's mezzo forte as opposed to mezzo piano. I'm sorry I didn't hear maybe 50% of what he writes on the page. So it's got to be, because that's all there is in the music. Maybe this is a little bit less, some people might hate me for saying this, but it's a little bit more less emotional maybe than the Brahms we just heard before. And so he writes all the information you need to convey all the emotions possible. Of course, you can play with emotion. I'm not saying I love Prokofiev, but a lot of what he wants is here. Everything he wants is here, and we really need to hear it. So can we just start again from the top? Okay, sorry. Same thing I say for the first group. Can the Q be in the character? I'm not a wind player, so I don't exactly know, but I'm sure it's possible, right? Right now I got a little anxious with that Q. Just think orchestrally, right? A conductor would just give you a nice big, I think, I'm no conductor either, but I wouldn't be anxious with that Q. So I appreciate it was definitely more patient. Maybe now it was a little boring. But so there needs to be something inside of this. But I do think that just the large beats like this work better for the piece. So now can we add a little bit of a musical thread to this and see what happens? Can I just hear the accompaniment at the beginning once? Good. Can you maybe move your bows a little bit more just to have a tiny bit more transparent sound that he can rest on top of? See what happens with that. Move your bow. Okay. I'm curious to hear what that sounds like with you on top. Not louder, just a little more air in the sound. Okay. One last thing is, with those tenutos he write for you, can it be a tiny bit more marked here? It's maybe just the hall or the stage or something, just a tiny bit more definition, and I think that'll be perfect. Okay, good. I like this sound. It's, you know, not that much different, but slightly different, and particularly the articulation. I like this a lot. Now, those chords seem a little dry, and can it just be a little rounder in the strings? I know you have accents and everything, but it just feels dry to me. So can I just hear you guys play this one, the chords? Maybe with the bass, yeah.
Right on the
Yeah. Just for now, can you just play All As It Comes? I'm curious to hear it. Okay, so this is a 20-second violin technique on chords or viola technique, but I would keep my elbow slightly higher, because if you keep your elbow down here and you're trying to play chords, you're just breaking the whole system right here. So I'm not saying to bring your elbow too high, and you should always use gravity, but your elbow is a little too down, and so the chords just don't work as well. So can you try this one more time, just a little flatter on the string, yeah?
Do you want them as it comes again?
Yeah, do it as it comes. Good, yeah, maybe that's too high for you. And then just think of the shape of the bridge to roll your chords, right? The bridge goes this way, just a little rounder, one more time. That's fine, I don't care about the whistling. Okay, so now go back to the original bowing. Maybe just also move your bow through this, even when you do the retake, because the sound gets a little dry here. So one last time, just the strings. With the double downs, yeah? Good, yeah, just feel that follow through, so there's more ring to the sound, okay? Yum, bum, bum, it's like dun, the sound just cuts off a little bit, okay? One last time from the top and we'll keep moving. I mean, it's kind of, there's not too much going on here, so we're just fixing a few details. Let's start again and keep going. Good. So is this a surprise or is this just continuation? Yeah, it felt very much dum pum 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 pum. So maybe do a little something different here. Good. And I love in Prokofiev as much as you can. So this is one example of many, but I love how he'll have cells of 4 beats, 3 beats, 5 beats. So obviously the chords is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, right? And then he finishes on 3. So it's just something to think about. You're not going to play that much more differently, but he does this in the violin concertos all over the place. It's 5 notes, 3 notes, 2 notes, and this makes a phrase. So this is kind of cool. I thought you can have a tiny bit more character. Bum, 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 ba, da, 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 dum, bum, bum. So a little bit also the same thing as Brahms. There's so many things going on in the texture, and so as totally follow the dynamics he writes to you, but in your strokes, you can bring out a couple of things without being too loud. So that's one of them. You kind of did it on the Ds, but I would say the next line, bar before 2, yup, up, 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 bum, 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 bum. This can have a tiny bit more bite, maybe a little more character to spring out of this character. So good. Let's go from 2 or around 2 and then keep going. Oh, by the way, the other thing is, and you know, there can be nerves and all kinds of other things, but the first time you play, the very first note you played today for the run through of the first movement, it should have been together. And you should have made sure that everybody was ready, because not everybody was ready. And so it's a small detail, but you know, the first thing you do when you get on the stage, you get your music ready, you get ready, you buy whatever. Everybody ready? Let's go. That's just, you know, chamber music 101. He was not ready. He was not ready. Yeah, maybe if you finish the chord before instead of worrying about what happens after. Yum, bum, bum, yum. Just finish this. Like pretend it's the end of the movement already or something. Then you move on to your character. I could see you already watching each other. It's good. It's good to get prepared, but finish the phrase first and then move on. Last time. Yes, sorry, these chords are impatient. These chords move forward a lot, and I would love for them to just be very stable. One more time. Okay, so these are the small details. To me, it sounds like you have carrots and you were mezzo piano, and you have dots on your pianissimo, right? And maybe this can just be a little smoother. That sounded maybe a tiny bit too marked. Also, I think that maybe try to change the character a little bit more within that long note before number 3, because you kind of did a diminuendo, but you really need to bring us to the new section, right? So, you should just prepare that new sound already towards the end of this note. So can we just do right there, bar before 3? Good. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Can I hear your solo once? Just to start at 3. We can play everybody, but I just want to hear one more time and see what's happening here.
Both of us?
Yeah, everybody's fine. Number right on 3 for now. Okay. So relax a little bit. Make sure you go around the viola right here. I'm sorry. Can you just play it once by yourself? Yeah, I'm not sure that's the greatest fingering in the world, but it is what's written. So can you maybe use a harmonic for now, because you're always flat on that second. One more time. Maybe do a harmonic. Yeah, that's too flat. The A is too flat, right? So still too flat. You hear it? Do it slowly once. That's right. Yeah. One more time. Thank you. Okay? Right on it. And relax. It's easy. Viola is easy. Everything should feel relaxed here, yeah? Okay, sorry. Why are the 4 different E, all the E's are every single one of them is a different intonation. I'm not quite sure why. Tar-yum, par-yum, pam. It should sound kind of gypsy maybe-ish violin, but should be in tune. Tar-yum, par-yum, pam. Can we just do right there? Tar-yum, par-yum. Do we want to slow down?
You're replacing it a little bit. Yeah.
Placing yum bum bum bum. Okay, not too much, I would say. 'Cause does he write him? I'm sure he writes retardandos also when he wants to. So maybe it's more surprising if this just kind of abruptly ends. Dum bum bum yum bum. First variation, right? Okay, you want to try that once? Good. Number 5, and 5 was great. 5 is kind of like you're opening the door again back to the beginning. So make sure you drop maybe a tiny bit more. More quickly, so that this comes through. So, but we can just do right at 5 and keep going after that. Good. Do you have to shift every single time? Da, 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 da. I think you're shifting up or something. And each fourth finger and don't shift. And you can vibrate your pinky. It's strong enough, I'm sure. Yeah. And then you can shift after. Yeah, but 3 times the same shift up. I don't think so. I mean, do you want that?
No.
Okay. Okay, right there. Yep, first variation. Good, but you're not, there's no legato, right? Ben tenuto, tom, pom, 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 pom. Then he's legato. No, that's legato. Do you have a slur over this? Do you have a slur? Where's this? Oh, well, you have a penciled slur, but that's not right. That's what I'm saying. These are the little things in Prokofiev. It's so meticulous the way he writes. So try once where you can hook it if you want, but don't slur it. Good, but that doesn't work either because you're using the same amount of bow on a little note. So just do it down, down, up, down. Try this. And just re-articulate a little bit. Yeah, sure. Sure, that's fine. That's not slurred, and that works with the bowing, so. Good. Okay, so this is one spot, again, when you were playing thirds, just marveling at the way he writes all this, because even though you're not primary voices, he writes you above you guys. And it certainly doesn't mean that you should be louder than the primary voices, but I think he's saying to lay a carpet of sound, a foundation that they can rest on and feel comfortable playing relatively soft. And I always find it very interesting, and I think not too long ago I've noticed, particularly when I play with piano, sometimes I just feel so uncomfortable, and for the longest time I just couldn't figure it out. And pianists can play super loud, but they also can play very, very soft. And if you don't have enough support, it feels like you're on eggshells, and it feels very, very uncomfortable. And it took me a long time to realize that you could actually ask your pianist to play a tiny bit more under you, or the same thing for other chamber music. But that's one perfect example where just give them a little more generous sound, and maybe you were not feeling uncomfortable, but in any case, musically speaking here, he's asking for you guys to just be a little fuller here. So can we just hear it? Okay, again, little question to you guys, and this is why you should probably play from this score or study that list, but look at measure 4 of this variation and what the clarinet marking is. And then look at your bar here.
Right.
Can you tell him what the difference is?
It's a mezzo piano. I have a mezzo piano.
Mezzo piano, but you also have dots, and he has dashes, right?
You mean
On the
Here?
quarters?
On this, right here.
yeah?
You have dots and you have dashes, right? It sounded like you had dashes and it sounded like you had dashes, so you were wrong. But I mean, it's so clear, right? And I don't think that's a oboe versus clarinet writing, is it? He writes dashes all the time if he wants to, right? So can we just hear your first bar? Good, and of course it's got to make sense within this phrase. I understand that you played sort of dashes because you want it to be a little more lyrical. This is not, you know, energico section or anything. However, this is what I'm talking about. You know, these are the little details in this music. That's the only thing you can base your performance off of. And again, for me, because it's Prokofiev, because it's this type of music, this is the most important thing you can do right now is just do exactly what he says on the page. So, okay. Let's play right there, maybe 4 before 8, and keep going a little bit. Hey, 1. I think that's Mr. Prokofiev. He's calling because he wants you to vibrate this phrase right here. Even though you have double stops, espressivo, you can wiggle your arm a little bit despite those double stops. Okay, all this was very good. Let's go to variation 2. Now, variation 2 is also so many things happening, but which line would you say is mostly primary? Violin part, I think. So make sure this comes out. And I'm curious, when you get to yum paratam paratam parapam parapam, do you ever try this as it comes, as opposed to retaking every time? Yum paratam paratam yum parapam 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 parapam. Do it once as it comes, see what happens. So can we play a second variation? We have to stop soon, but let's hear this one. most part, that's good. And this should be kind of funny, right? Is there a story to this?
It was written for, he wrote it in 1924 when he was in Paris for like a group of traveling dancers.
Uh-huh.
And it was a ballet.
Right, okay, so there's the ballet story, right? Okay, so of course that'd be great to know exactly. I don't know the characters and all this, but I'm sure that would inform your playing. But don't rush this variation. I mean, again, it should be vivace and quick and whatnot, but it should feel stable. I'm a little anxious listening to you right now because it feels like it's running at times and could be as quick as you want, but the rhythm in Prokofiev's, I mean, in all music, but in his music should be so strong, and there's nothing worse than feeling anxious when you listen to a performance. So for sure here, you should just make sure everything is controlled and you practice it slowly. But the balance is better. When you get to the lower register, he doesn't write playing softer. Yum para bara bara bum. So this could come out more. Yum para bum para bum. That works better this way, right? So you're working less hard here. So that's good. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, we're going to have to stop soon, but in the second movement, I love the energy that you had at the beginning, which matched the andante energico. And suddenly, when everybody else came in, it became just a little bit, less energetic. So can we just try the opening of this movement and see if we can keep that nice character you're setting up here? Good, that was better. Good. So I like the energy level from you guys. And again, this is very subtle, but I'm lacking a little bit of the just like maybe it's just a feeling that you need to give off that we're not rushing, we're here, we're setting up the tempo, we're giving you all the texture you want, and within all this, the phrase can have direction and whatnot. But for me, it just lacks a little bit of that rhythmic core, which is going to make the piece ever so stronger. And make sure you play everything, every little detail he writes, okay? Good job. Thank you. I don't know what I'm talking about. How was it? How did it feel?
Nervous?
Nervous? Did you accomplish some of the things you rehearsed? Were you happy with some things? Hope so. It was very good. Tons of energy and lots of great characters, and you've worked on many little details, and I liked a lot of it. There are also some things we can improve, I think. One of them is, and I'm going to be blunt about it, but you, in this piece at least, need to have a much stronger role as a first violinist, because a lot of the time I just completely lost you, and I don't think they're overpowering you too much. So for the most part, bigger sound, don't drop as much, particularly in the low registers, and a little bit more. I mean, most of the movement is just you and them accompanying you, right? I mean, that's not, there are many spots where other people have the theme, but I mean, as, let's see, do you have bar numbers? Or do you have,
Yes.
I don't have bar numbers, but we'll play through and I'll tell you when I can, but there are a lot of places where I just wanted a lot more of you. So that's the first comment I would say. And there are a lot of little articulation things that we can fix. And I'm curious, because you had a really good character in this tempo, and of course, I believe that tempo is affected by many different things, including the space where you play in. And so in a space like this, I wonder if maybe 2 clicks slower and with still a ton of energy maybe would make everything a little bit more clear to the ear out there, particularly as you get lower in registers. So there were a couple spots like ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-bum when you do the return in loud here, where I thought I could have used more clarity, and I couldn't quite tell if maybe it's both a stroke and a just a timing thing. So I'm curious to experiment. And in any case, right now, I would like to experiment with, let's take it quite a bit slower and keep all the character you want, but I want to do it slow so that we have time to comprehend everything, to make sure we're perfectly together, and just to play everything in slow motion, but with all the right characters and stuff. So it doesn't have to be too slow, but let's play like this right now. The very beginning, you were twice louder than you were, which shouldn't be the case because you're accompaniment and your theme. Oh, and one last thing is, well, people have very different thoughts about this, even here at the Chamber Music Society, about vibrato in a string quartet and in all kinds of music. And I would say that if you're going to choose non-vibrato, it really has to make sense. But when you do doesn't make sense at all to me. That D was fluffy and with no sound, and you vibrate the B, which is the less important note of the two. And so I got so distracted by this. And again, I'm fine if you make sense of what you're doing with your vibrato and everything else. I won't, have an issue with it. But this, I had a little bit of an issue. So make sure that it, is beautiful to the ear and it makes sense musically also, right? So let's start from the top and see what we can do with this. So as I said, a little bit slower so you have time to register, but tons of character. I want all the same characters, okay? Okay, sorry. Beautiful cue, and you don't start together. You actually started before your own cue. Okay, why? Why is this note? I understand that you're not accenting it, but this is how you would sing the phrase, this last note. Why is it suddenly much softer and much sweeter than the rest? Shouldn't have kind of the same energy. Sometimes, and I was reluctant to say this, and I've been told this before, but you can't pick every flowers along the road, right? You have to pick and choose. So, you're doing a lot of beautiful things, but in the context of the music, it has to relate a little bit more. So this last note can't just suddenly start sounding so different from the rest of the phrase. So one more time. Okay, thank you. Much better. Balance is off for me. You're used to playing and to hearing this opening like this, but that sounds like, and I don't know, maybe it's a matter of you sustaining a little bit more despite the forte piano thing, but right now it's off. So try and be the own judges of what you think is right, but it's not right now. Thank you. Good. Even there, you have to be very conscious. As you get down and register, as I was saying in the previous groups, it gets harder for these guys to pick up the primary line. So when you have the primary line, you need to really come out, and you're playing the same material than you play the first 8 measures or whatever, but you need to play it slightly different because you're accompanying a different instrument. So again, react. That's why we're doing this slowly, so that you have time to register everything and do it as well as possible. So one more time from the top. That's nice. And I understand that you don't want to accent this note, but also your bow is completely sideways. Just a straight bow on, Yeah. Good. Okay, sorry. Too loud. She's primary voice. I appreciate all the inflections, but you're accompanying. But that was great. So much better. So maybe the first violin one of these. That's bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pick up to bar 8. Yeah, can it be a little more articulated, this thing, and a tiny bit more core? It's a little surfacey here. So in this tempo, it should be easier to do. Ter-yum, 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 the first pianissimo. Good. Sustain a little more. Good. Okay. Another thing, in this slow tempo, you should be watching exactly which part of the bow you're both playing, and you're playing exactly the same thing, so it should pretty much be the same release in the forte piano. Again, this is why we do this slowly. I love practicing slowly and having exactly all the same things I'm going to do in the fast tempo, but having time to analyze everything. So even if you need to slow it down, that's even more, that's fine, but I think we can probably do it this way. So that was better. I could use more of this in real life. The ya-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum just needs to be as clear as possible. So do the same place, and really now try to zone in on this quartet playing, right? Everything should match. Good. Good. Thank you. Long phrase, long phrase. Okay. I'm standing right here, I couldn't hear you. Da 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 da. Sustain, right? And this was better the first time you played the B flat a certain way, and then the A another way, and then the next bar another way. And so this is where I'm talking about picking the flowers. And listen, I much prefer somebody that has a ton of different sounds and different characters, but now you just need to make sense of them within one phrase. But it's great to be able to pick and choose from all these different styles. So da, 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 da. That's just one phrase. There's nothing too fancy about this. But you need to come out, right, through this. So good. Let's do, how about when the two violins play together? Tom, pa, yum, pum, pum, pa. The return. Ya, pa, ta, pa, ta, pa, ta, pa, tam. So from here. Not too fast. Good. I'm being picky, but you're accenting yum pum pum pum. You're accenting this first note, and he's not, and he's probably right. So maybe not so much one to pick up, and not at the tip, because it's just a bow distribution thing. You're accenting it to get back to the frog. So just watch that. Good. Same place. First violin. Sustain, sustain. Good. Awesome. That's much better. I love this tempo. I mean, not in real life, but just for now to hear everything. Now, da ba da ba dum pum 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 pum. The first crescendo is great, and then what I would personally do is make sure that I drop 5% so that when he starts his scale, it still has a ton of energy, but you're letting him through. And of course, you should sustain, and as you're lowering register, you need to make sure that this comes out more, right? But these are the little details I need to think about in order for all the balances to be right. So now, looking ahead, 3-1-5. Don't change strings here. Have you tried 3-1-5? So G, yeah.
Okay.
Did you try this ever?
Sure. No. No.
Better fingering. So. Okay, let's go from, oh, and by the way, the 4-bar crescendo that you have, again, this is just, I'm responding to what I'm hearing, which you should do too. It seems like you're crescendoing way more than he's capable of doing as a unit. The three of you are producing too much sound for him to come through nicely. So just make sure that maybe you should almost dim into this crescendo, right? Maybe the crescendo starts a little too loud. You know which crescendo I'm talking about? Right? So maybe that should start a tiny bit softer, and then you have more room to grow. So how about just let's start right there, that crescendo. Yeah. She has a downbeat of this measure. No. She has a downbeat. She has a downbeat. Okay, so fingering is infinitely better. Now the second time, wouldn't you say maybe a little bit stronger? Da 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 dum pum 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 yum ba da 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 da. Maybe a little different timing so that it doesn't sound exactly the same twice, right? Okay, can we do right on the first one? Yum ba da 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 dum. Good. By the way, that sounds so much better, and it's a tempo thing. You have more time to sing and play everything. So again, maybe it was a little too quick the first time around, and it's not vivace, it's allegro con brio. So you definitely had the con brio, but right now, I know we're in a slow tempo, but now all the little notes make sense. Taryam, paryam, param, the first time you seem to rush through all this. So, and you know what's interesting about this phrase, and then what's interesting about the last two chords? Okay, if you look at the last two chords of the exposition, which you didn't do, he writes fortissimo suddenly, and that's a big Beethoven thing, right? You'll have forte, da 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 dum, fortissimo, fortissimo on the last two chords, right? And I definitely want to hear a lot more of this. Now, interestingly, on this one, it's not that you have fortissimo before, but you do end quite loud, da 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 dum, yum, bum. I think these chords shouldn't crash too much. He makes sure to write forte as opposed to fortissimo, right? So make sure these are still kind of light, right? So let's do the same spot and then we'll keep going. A little more, first violin. No, you're crashing, you're crashing. I think you understood the opposite of what I'm saying, right? Forte only, not fortissimo. Da 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 dum, yum. Bum, just a simple C major phrase. There's nothing too dramatic about this, right? Now, I understand and I like what you're doing 4 bars before this. You're starting softer, but the drop is just a little too much for me. Yeah, it's just not subtle enough personally. So do a little bit of it. You don't have to do too much. Okay, let's keep going. Second theme. You're primary the whole time. They're just kind of doing harmony and accompaniment, but you have to have a little bit more of a solo mentality here. Beautiful, that's great. I have nothing to say. I love it at this tempo. You can hear you're matching everything, so I like it. So let's just keep going from there. Anywhere you want around there. Still solo. Okay, great. I appreciate, I understand you're doing piano and then pianissimo, but that's too much. Yo, boop, 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 the first time, right? That was loud. That was loud. Yeah, yeah. Good. I was gonna say, don't mark every bar. You're marking every bar. And again, this is one of your beautiful subtleties, but I don't think it's necessary you do a little bit too mannered. I appreciate do it, but a little more subtly. I think you don't really need too much of this. So can we do you know where that is? Okay, okay, great. And this is always difficult because you end and you continue the phrase at the same time. Don't accent this downbeat, particularly the people that stop. But even you, da 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 da, no accent, right? I kept writing this through the score. There are a lot of places you should end strong, but certainly not hit that downbeat. So, same place. Yeah, sorry, but you're giving up. So she takes over for one bar, and then it's together. You should be the loudest of the together, right? Da ba da ba da 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 dum. Okay, one more time. Forte. Yeah, same thing. In the fast one, they're not coming out so clearly, even at this tempo. So, yeah, make sure that's as clear as possible. Okay, let's do the development. Good. Development. Can you put your fingers down? You're lifting everything. Yeah. 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 I'm going to practice that slowly. Okay, right there. Piano. Good. Yeah. First time through, this was better. Again, maybe because we were moving so fast, but incredible modulation here, right? So you need to feature that a little bit more. I don't know if it means maybe, yeah, just a little more crescendo. It doesn't mean tight sound, but I just realized you're going to D major. So I'm curious if the piano, you just play with a little bit more bow, than the pianissimo, you play with barely any bow. That should cover the issues right there. So can we do that one more time from the piano? A little more bow. Good. Okay. Last thing I'm curious is, what if you did this at the tip, particularly the third time, then you'll have a lot of bow for that crescendo. Yeah, and that'll be a better spot for everybody, probably. Yeah. Okay. Same place. Good, and okay, maybe this is a little bit of acting, but if you play this incredibly intense part, da-da-da-dum, ba-da-ba-da, you got to keep the intensity even within the rest, right? And so it might involve a little bit of keeping your bow up and looking like what's going on, right? So let's do the previous forte piano, like 8 bars before. You know, okay, if I'm going to be picky about your acting, I don't think there's anything going on in the music that should keep the. I mean, that's actually serious, right? The music stops, so everything should stop, even your motion, right? If you're going to give a grand gesture here, that's not going to work. Da 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 da. Ba da 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 da. You should freeze, right? The music freezes. You should freeze also. Okay, try it. Thank you. That's so much better. Good. Okay. So this is all very good. I would say maybe you should strategize a little bit. And I know he doesn't write pianissimo, but to me it would seem that the very last one that you do could be the softest before the crescendo. You know where the crescendo starts? Maybe because of the key and because you've been doing it so many times, forte, piano forte, maybe this one is pianissimo, and then the crescendo will come out grander because of that. So can we try one more time this whole section? Diminuendo. Crescendo. Good. I'm curious about your lengthening and sort of making them heavier and heavier, the quarter notes, dum, bum, ba, as we get louder. It makes sense in terms of volume, but I would love to, he keeps writing the dots, right? And I would love to keep, you still have dots, right, on those notes? Oh, in parentheses, okay. Okay, so maybe you're right about this. It's not, it doesn't seem my score, but I wonder if you can keep the energy because it becomes a little less energetic as you add length to this. So can we just do from the crescendo one or around there? Maybe where the viola and cello starts. And this one. You have B flats on. You know what that is? It's like the one before your last piano. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. Yeah? Okay, wouldn't you say that the character, this sounds different to me than the beginning. Dum, yum, pum, 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 pum. That has direction and is energetic and stuff. Dum, yum, pum, 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 yum, pum, pum. This is more open with perfect intervals and the two violins here, so maybe not the same direction or same character, right? Can we just do right here? There's more questioning here, maybe. You're looking for something. You're looking for something. Yeah, good. This is, I appreciate it, but it's also a little bit the same thing. I don't think we really need so much of this, right? A little more simple. You're kind of searching, and it's more the back and forth is more interesting than the individual notes within those slurs, I think. So that was nice. Maybe it doesn't need to grow so much right where we started, because particularly you're going to pianissimo, and there's no crescendo. A little more simple there, simplice. Can we do the same place? And then, by the way, those hairpins, the little hairpins, maybe more subtle, particularly the first one. The second one you can do a little bit more, but you're doing so much the first one, just a little bit too much in your face, I think. So again, same place. More question, more simple, simplice here. Yeah, do you have a forte piano, the third measure?
Yep.
Oh, you do?
No, I don't have. No.
Okay.
First measure.
Okay, first measure. Ta da yum pum 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 sing ta yum pum. Nothing fancy on that A. She's just joining you. Simple. A little more. Questions? Simple. Conversation. Questions? Play oboe, 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 oboe. Okay, good. So this should be much more in suspense than you did the first time. And you can do downbow. I don't care about the oboe. As I said in previous groups, I love practicing reverse bowings if it makes sense too, because you hear a different way. You don't have to do it in the end. But before that, should be all in suspense. So this whole bridge, this whole ending of the development is, you know, it's back and forth, but it's all questions. And then you're back to the opening, okay? We have to stop. Bravo. Yeah, thank you. All right. Good job. Thank you. You guys done great. Keep working hard. Bravo.